In today's episode of the Kirk Miller Podcast, I'm going to be speaking about a subject which is a massive, massive value of mine and anyone I've previously coached and currently coached, and that is energy. Energy for me is something that in your younger days, and I know I did in my teens and my 20s, you take for granted because you have lots of natural energy. Well, I certainly did after all the sports, I participated in. But I think it becomes even more precious when you have more responsibilities, more people to think about, care about, and you've just got a lot more you need to get done within a given week. And I know the clients inside our Built to Last community and program, for example, this is the one thing we're continually trying to evaluate. How can we create more energy? How can we protect more energy so we can give more in our businesses, in our personal relationships, and simply feel as good as we can? Because I really believe that you can't optimize happiness, performance, whether it's mental, physical, if you don't have the an adequate level of energy. So in this episode, and I really encourage you, if there's one episode you really see this through to the end, it's this one. I really encourage you to pause this as many times as needed, because I'm going to be throwing enormous amounts of questions at you today, because one of the key things we need to do if we're going to create more energy is to evaluate exactly how much energy we have right now. And you need to ask yourself the right questions to evaluate on a really, really magnified level how much energy you actually have on given days across every week, every month, across the year. So if energy management for you is a continual struggle, if you're a business owner who has a partner, children, you might travel and you're just chasing your tail sometimes from week to week, like a lot of our guys, I really encourage you to pause whenever needed, take some time to evaluate some of the questions today, and even put pen to paper. If you journal, if you take time to plan your week, this is really, really going to help you. As I know some of the questions I'm going to be going through today have helped our clients enormously take them from good energy to great energy, or if someone is really struggling, it's really created that instant impact in mental and physical stamina and vibrancy, okay? Because remember this, you can't give what you don't have, okay? To give more energy, we need to create that. And there are some simplistic, deliberate practices you can do as a part of your daily rituals that are going to definitely help that. And I think why I feel so passionate about this subject as well, if you were to probably evaluate, even in the last couple of months, okay, so at the time of this podcast airing, it's around mid-March, okay, but it's going to be relevant at any point of the year. But if you were to probably evaluate the last couple of months, what weeks, what days, what periods you had more energy, that wouldn't have happened by chance. There would have been deliberate inputs about the way you looked after yourself that created that more energy. So we want to create more awareness of what are the actual things, the habits, the day-to-day rituals that are creating that more energy. And to do that, we need to ask ourselves the right questions. All right? But before we get into the question framework that I want to go through today, and I've got my notes next to me because I want to be very, very pinpoint with them today. I don't usually obviously like to use too many notes, but I really want to be concise with the questions, because the quality of questions are key if you're trying to get a better output. But before we do that, one thing that's really helped our coaching team, help our clients even more over the years, is to really get clear first and foremost, what are the actual energy drainers in our lives? Because I'm sure, and I know I speak from personal experience here, we've all had periods in our lives where we experienced a lot more energy lows. And again, just on the flip side of us having inputs to create more energy, there are certain reasons and things that would have also created a lack of energy. It doesn't happen by chance, okay? So I'm just going to chop through these very, very quickly, and don't hesitate to pause this podcast to put pen to paper, or even just to think if any of them really stand out currently that might be holding you back, okay? So if I look at energy drainers, the obvious one, for me, there's nothing is going to drain energy more than poor sleep. Like, I know when I'm feeling sharp and on point and I get more done in a given day, I've had a better night's sleep. And I know if you've maybe followed this podcast for an extended period of time, or saw any of my social media posts, sleep for me is the number one core driver I focus on when it comes to optimizing my physical training performance, my mental sharpness, my productivity. Okay, so for me, the number one energy drainer is poor sleep. Other ones, I'll chop through them. No exercise / movement, shit food, too frequent alcohol, not drinking enough water. Also, from a mindset perspective and a behavior perspective, I think if you're in a poor environment, whether that's in a place or in a poor environment in terms of the people you spend time with, they can really, really drain your energy. And if you've got a poor environment where you're working day to day or you're spending your time, then you're going to be filled with more distractions. And when you've got more distractions, your bandwidth really disintegrates as the day goes on. Because remember this, you are waking up with 100% bandwidth, willpower, focus, drive, motivation, and we're trying to minimize distractions, don't forget, to help protect and extend that energy as much as we can across the course of the day. So a poor environment is going to drain your energy dramatically. The next one for me, sitting down for hours staring at a computer. I know I can be guilty of this sometimes. You're just trying to really do as much as you can across a day. If I'm sat in front of a computer for too long, visual fatigue is brutal. I don't know if you can relate to this, but your eyes start to feel heavy. You start to procrastinate possibly, but you really get tired quickly. So sitting down staring at a computer screen for hours is a massive energy drainer. Now, I know you might be listening to this thinking, well, that's just a part of my role, that's a part of my business. I'm even on planes sitting down. That's cool. But I really encourage you, as I'll come on to the flip side of energy uplifters, to get up and move regularly. Another energy drainer, multitasking. I think if you're multitasking, bouncing from task to task to task, one, you're not effective, you're not productive, but two, you can rapidly disintegrate bandwidth and it's going to affect your decision making for sure. I know over the years I've been absolutely horrific with this. Until I, had great mentors to sharpen the saw with my productivity and my energy management, thinking that by being busy doing multiple different things at once, you're actually being effective. Again, it's going to drain your energy really, really quickly. Not managing transitions. I'm going to speak about this in a second. There are specific things you could and should be doing between each transition. So what I mean by transition is, you might be going from work, that's one transition, to then going to the gym, that's another transition, to then seeing your family, that's another transition. If you're not managing your energy in between these transitions, basically having mini pit stops to breathe, refocus, then you're going to rapidly decline in energy, and it can affect mood, of course, too. Picking up phone and scrolling on social media, dipping in emails, dipping in and out of messages, WhatsApps, it just drains bandwidth. And again, massively affects productivity. In terms of another energy drainer, like AM, focusing on other people's agendas first. So I've spoke about this on a previous podcast, maybe multiple podcasts, in fact. If you are getting up first thing in the morning and you are focusing on other people's agendas, then you're giving your power to them, whatever it is you're focusing on. So if you want to protect your energy, right, especially first thing, don't focus on someone else's agenda, because there could be a message, an email, something that triggers you that can affect your energy and your focus for the rest of the day. On the flip side to that, PM is not leaving your work at work. You don't have an end of day brain dump. You're not wrapping up your day and planting intention for the next day. That is criminal for me in terms of really creating a scattered brain and not bringing your energy levels, to the level you want to, especially if you're about to spend time with your family and stuff and relax. So when you're at work, you're at work. Don't take that into the evening with you, or you're going to be in that reactive state all the time. And remember this, to perform optimally, whether it's in the gym or in your business, we need to create pit stops. We need to recover also to recharge our batteries. Last one for me in terms of energy drainers, and I'm sure there's many more, but I just thought I'd shoot for me the most common, sort of 10 to 12, negative words and people. Negative words and people can affect your state management, your energy management, and mood, okay? What you focus on, you feel. So if we are either saying negative words or we're allowing other people to rub off with their negative words on us, then that's going to affect our state, mood, and energy. So just be very, very mindful of people who are negative, constantly moaning about the world or just bullshit that simply doesn't matter. Don't give your power to other people. And also just be very guarded with your own self-talk. Because if you were to evaluate, even maybe in the last week, when you felt on point with your energy management, I can almost guarantee that you're probably using more uplifting words as part of your vocabulary. I know when, I've got my head up my ass and maybe my energy isn't as high as I want to, if I'm really, really being brutal when I'm journaling and evaluating my day or my week, it's often because I'm using negative words and just moaning. It's going to affect my focus and bring my energy down, okay? So it's great knowing, okay, what the energy drainers, right? But what's going to help us create more energy, or even if you're someone listening to this who is naturally a high energy person, that's great. But I think as a high performer, you're always looking for that extra 5 to 10% of how can I create more energy, right? To do that, we need to evaluate in magnified detail, right? What are the days within my week that I have more energy and why? Okay, what am I doing differently on those days than maybe the days where I just feel a bit more fatigued, where it's mentally, physically, and what can I take from the days where I have more energy into the days where I don't have more energy, so I've got more consistent energy management from Monday to Sunday. Because I'm yet to coach someone, if I ask them with ruthless honesty, do you want loads of energy for 5 days and no energy for 2 days? I don't know anyone who, given the choice, would not want to live with more energy. But there are specific things we need to evaluate first, okay? So one question I want to ask you now is this. In the last 2 months, how have you felt energetically in terms of your mental and physical vibrancy? And why do you think it is? So in the last 2 months, if you were to evaluate your mental and physical vibrancy, how have you felt about your energy? How have you felt in terms of your vibrancy? Great, high energy, you generally felt on fire, or has there been slumps where you've had days and periods where you've had energy and then you've had no energy? And why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? If it's been going great and you feel physically and mentally vibrant, full of energy, why? And obviously, how can we keep doing more of that? And if you haven't, how can we create more energy moving forward? Okay. Number 2, tell me about a time when you felt when you felt your mental energy and physical vibrancy was at its best. So let me say that a bit more clearly. Tell me a time when you felt your mental energy and your physical vibrancy was at its best. How did that feel and what was going on then? That didn't happen by chance. So this might not be even the past couple of months, but if you were to evaluate, and I encourage you to maybe pause the podcast at this point, think of a time in your life where you felt absolutely on fire with your mental energy, physical vibrancy, right? First and foremost, how did that make you feel? Because when you attach more value to living with more energy, you're more likely to appreciate the habits and the behavior that created it in the first place. Okay? So it's a great question to ask. What was going on when you were living with more energy, or you had periods where you just felt unstoppable? What was going on? Remember, these questions are going to lead you to, your daily rituals that were creating that energy. Okay? Now what I want you to do is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where has your physical and mental energy been each day? So even if you were to evaluate the last few weeks, but I would say let's do this as an average, maybe of the last month, 2 months if you really want to go full throttle with this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where was your physical and mental energy each day? So if I was to say to you, as an average on Monday, your Monday energy, 1 being low, 10 being high, where would you rate your level of energy on the average Monday? Do you find you're absolutely full of energy? Or do you find it's maybe a 5 or a 6? Maybe feeling a bit tired after the weekend? Overeating? Perhaps drinking? Okay, we don't need to overthink just now, because I'm sure by the end of this podcast, things will unpack things. But what's your energy like on a Monday? 1 to 10. Same on a Tuesday. Same on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get the picture. But I encourage you to pause this podcast for 60 seconds, 2 minutes. How would you rate your average energy across Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? And is it consistent? Is it consistent? What days are higher? What days are not so high? And as we'll unpack in a second, let's try and evaluate why. All right? The next questions we're going to evaluate now is specific questions that are really going to help you evaluate why you have more energy on certain days. So from those 7 days as an average, from the last week, the last month, the last 2 months, or just if you go as far as you want here, your average energy across these days, right? I want you to answer these questions in relation to the days you have more energy. So on the days you have more energy, what daily habits and routines are you implementing? What are your key habits and what is your routine on the days you are absolutely on fire with your energy? Next question, on the days you have more energy, what do you eat more of? What do you eat/drink less of, right? Because remember this, the food you put in your mouth is an investment in the energy you wish to live with, right? This has nothing to do with training. Like, science affects your energy more than anything else, in my opinion. So on the days you have more energy, what are you eating more of and what are you eating less of, right? Because that's going to be your clue from a food perspective of what you need to eat more of moving forward if you want consistent energy. The next question, more to do with movement. On the days you have more energy, how many steps did you hit? How many steps did you hit? So say, for example, you have really high energy on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How many steps did you hit? Because often what we've found with clients when we've evaluated this is when someone's moved more, they've created more energy. Because remember, movement shifts mood, it elevates state, it sort of charges your batteries, because you can't have energy out without having energy in. So on the days you've got more energy, how many steps did you hit on that day? And I'd be gobsmacked if you've got low steps on the days you've got high energy. Next question, what time do you go to bed and wake up? So on the days you have more energy, what is your bedtime? And what is the time you wake up? Are there any patterns you notice? Okay. On the flip side to this, on the days you have less energy, why do you think this is? What are you doing differently? What are the habits slowing you down most? Right? I'm going to say this again because this is a really, really powerful question. On the days you have less energy, why do you think that is? What are you doing differently to the days you have high energy? And what are the habits slowing you down most? Right? What habits are not serving your energy in any way, shape or form? Or on the flip side to the days you have more energy, they just take the edge off you a little bit. Okay? What are you doing differently? Next question in relation to the days you have less energy. What days would you love to improve most? And look, these are really like pinpoint high performance questions. And if this sounds too intense for you, then you're probably on the wrong podcast. But just like our clients, right, I'm trying to add as much pinpoint value as possible and not just be one of these podcasts that's just talking at you for the sake of it. I want to provide as much value as possible. And the quality of your body, your health, your energy is going to be down to questions. So try and be ruthlessly honest with yourself when you're answering these questions. So on the days you have less energy, what days would you love to improve most? So what is your lowest day in terms of your energy rating? Right? And what could you immediately commit to start doing and stop doing? The clue for that is going to be the questions you should have answered a few minutes ago of the days you have more energy, What do you do more of? What is your step target? What foods do you eat? Maybe what time do you go to bed? All right, it's usually going to be the opposite to this question. But what could you immediately commit to start doing and stop doing? And maybe if you want to go even stronger than that, instead of could do, what are you actually willing to do? If there are some days you think, God, I wish I had more energy, what are you actually willing to start doing, and what do you need to stop doing immediately? All right? Next question. On the days you have less energy, when exactly does your energy drop? Right? Is it midday? Is it mid-morning? Is it mid-afternoon? Is it the evening? Right? When exactly does your energy drop? There will be a specific reason for your energy dropping on a given day. Of course, naturally, we all get tired as the day goes on. I do too. But if your energy is lower than what you want it to be in comparison to other days, what time of day on that given day does it happen? And what is the one thing you could do in that moment that is good for your energy? So say, for example, we found with our clientele, a lot of our clientele are on fire in the morning, and then they start to have energy dips mid-afternoon. Is there something you can do mid-afternoon to pick up your energy? Example, if you sat down and you're getting an energy slump mid-afternoon, can you get up, walk, move, get a glass of water, get some fresh air, remind yourself of how important energy is to you. So do something that affects your state and gives you that energy pick-me-up. All right? Because sometimes when we feel a bit stagnant with our energy, it's a cue to do something to pick the energy up. What is that one thing for you that when you do it, immediately picks your energy up? Okay? So that's on a day's perspective. And if that sounds a little bit heavy, now I'm going to give you some questions to evaluate on a weekly and monthly basis. Just a handful, all right? But they're really, really potent. Okay? How often do you train per week when your energy is at its best? So if you've ended a week, so maybe if you evaluate the last couple of months, try and think back to the last month or two and think, God, which weekend did I end the week feeling unbelievable, full of energy? How many times did you train during that week or the previous 7 days when your energy felt at its best? The next question, how many weekly steps did you hit when your energy is optimal? So when you felt on fire with your energy, what was your weekly step target in the week that preceded that week you're evaluating? All right? And again, I'd be gobsmacked if on the days or the weeks, that you felt you had more energy, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked on the weeks you have more energy, you didn't have a higher step target. Then the last question when it comes to weekly is, how do you plan your food and lifestyle management when your energy and mood is on point all week? So how do you actually plan your food and lifestyle management when your energy is on point and your mood, your focus feels super sharp? How did you plan your food and lifestyle management that week? Because that will be one of the major contributing factors to creating that high energy, great mood, great focus. These things don't happen by chance. If we were to evaluate the behavior and our clients inside Built to Last are super, super consistent, week to week, month to month, year round, what they do and how they plan with their food and lifestyle management helps create the outcome of that high energy, especially when they are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And you have to be pinpoint with creating this. And that food and preparation, making you eat better, will certainly help you do that. Now, this last couple of questions, this could be weekly or monthly, but I think this is something that I encourage you to take a minute or two to really evaluate, because a lot of people talk about stress, and for me, stress isn't always a bad thing. For me, I think if you are low in stress, it's usually a sign that you're not up to much. It's usually a sign that you become too comfortable, whether it's with your body goals, whether it's your business goals, I think stress, a lot of the time when people use that word, they need to take responsibility that it's self-created. If you're continually saying week to week, month to month, I'm stressed, you have a decision to change that if you really want to. All right? But this question will help. Are there any areas of life that are particularly stressful and draining energy right now? So are there any areas of life that are particularly stressful and draining energetically? If so, what are you actually doing for stress management? Because a lot of people, they talk about being stressed, but do absolutely fuck all about it. And there are so many things you can do, as I'll come on to in a second, to affect that, right? But if you're stressed in a negative sense, then you're going to have lower energy. You can't be stressed and moaning and then be full of high energy, or not positive energy anyway, okay? And we're not living in la-la land here. I'm not deluded. I have days where I get pissed off and, make things a bigger deal than what they are. But I kill the monster early these days, because if I'm continually moaning about something, or something doesn't go my way, you have a choice, you have a decision on how you're going to react, okay? But we really need to evaluate and get clear. Are there any areas of life that are particularly stressful or draining energetically, and what are you actually doing for stress management? Next question. What routines do you have for recharging weekly or monthly? What would make you more vibrant? So how do you actually recharge weekly and monthly? And I know, as an entrepreneur myself, someone who's a workaholic, I absolutely love what I do. I love helping people. I love business. I love drive. I love leading my team. I love, to put it more directly, I love being absolutely relentless, and I have to be slowed down from time to time. And I know a lot of my top clients are the same. But I think you really need to get clear as well, is what are the routines that you use to recharge weekly or monthly? And if you can't answer that, then that is something you might want to explore, because yes, of course, like myself, you're going to have days where you work 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, but at some point you'll be burnt out. And if you are not recharging, and in particular sleep deprived and taking too much on, your productivity, your focus will be nowhere near as efficient as what it could be in less time. So the amount of people that we've worked with over the years, and I can relate to this because I've been this guy myself, who said, I work 12, 14, 15 hours. But if they're not fit, they're not focused, they're not organized, and they're not recharging, there is no way they're effective in that 12, 13, 14 hour period. I'll go as far as saying that if you are recharging your energy, you're fit, you're strong, you're healthy, you would achieve more in 8 hours than someone who is not healthy, fit, strong, and managing their energy than someone does in 14, 15 hours. So get clear on how you're actually recharging your energy on a weekly or monthly basis. And I'm going to plant some seeds in a second on how to do that, okay, if you struggle with that. And then I've got a more thought-provoking question. I think this question, before I just give you a load of different options to, my thoughts on my go-to things to lift your energy. I think one of the things that makes you do more of the things you know you should be doing when it comes to uplifting your energy is creating more emotional value with energy itself. And I'm not saying you don't value energy if you're on this podcast, but if you know you can have more energy, usually it's a sign we need to value it more, or the inputs that actually create that energy. So the question is this: what would you try to take on or achieve if you had 3 times more overall energy? So say, for example, you had 3 times more energy than you currently do. What opportunities would that create? What would you do that, as a result of having more energy, that is currently on hold because your energy isn't quite where it needs to be to be open to that new opportunity, that new project, whatever it is? But what would you try to take on or achieve if you had 3 times more energy? Or on the flip side, what are you not currently doing because you don't have the energy to follow through on it? And that's going to create emotional consequence, and it's going to create an emotional deeper meaning on energy and the things you need to do to create that. Okay? So I know I've chucked a hell of a lot of questions on you there, but I really encourage you to at least go back to the 3 to 5 questions that have really really maybe touched a nerve, or you just think, I need to dig deeper into that question. Okay. Now, coming towards the end here, so I really appreciate your patience with this. Energy checklist examples. So I've got a hell of a lot of examples that I know categorically would help improve your energy. And please don't hesitate to drop me a direct message if you would like the exact list that I'm looking at now. I'm not going to go through them all. I've just sort of highlighted the key things for me that if you are listening to this thinking, okay, Kurt, you've asked all these questions, but just tell me the things that you think are really, really going to help give me that 5 to 10% more energy, then don't hesitate to drop me a message, and I would happily send them across. But I've just highlighted a few that I think for me are unbelievable things to help revive your energy, which of course is the title of this podcast, okay? And some of them you're probably doing, but you need to do them more, or you need to do them more consistently, okay? The ones I've circled, obvious one, walk outside X amount of time or X amount of steps per day. I think nothing elevates energy more than walking, moving, getting fresh air. Instantly changes your mood, but when you move your body, you change your state, and when you elevate your state, don't forget you're going to make empowering decisions. But walk outside, get some fresh air, sleep X amount of hours per day. I always try and get 7 hours. Yeah, alongside walking, maybe even more so, in fact, so I might contradict myself. Nothing's going to give you more energy than a good night's sleep, because then you're more inclined to do the walk, get the session in if you've actually respected sleep in the first place. Lift. I can pretty much guarantee, if you evaluate the answers to the previous questions, that when you have more energy, you probably lifted more. When we've ever had a client who was stuck, a lot of the time they might have had a week where they didn't lift as much, didn't get a session in, and success leaves clues. Don't forget, when you live with more energy that in a given week. Cardio. The fitter you are, the more energy you have. It'll just give you that injection of energy. It's like filling up your petrol tank full of energy to then use it the other side. Turn notifications off on your mobile. I think nothing is more of a energy drainer than having notifications, especially when you're trying to relax with partner, friends, colleagues, whatever it is. Turn notifications off on your mobile. Because they are going to affect your bandwidth, even if it's by 0.5%. If you are constantly looking at your phone and there's notifications popping up all the time, it will 100% affect your energy. It will stop you from being present as well with people, in certain environments. Another great energy uplifter is only checking your socials, emails, personal messages a couple of times a day. Of course, there are going to be sometimes you need to be more on it with this, but I definitely think from a social media perspective, unless your job is involved of regularly checking social media, try and be disciplined. Have set windows and time blocks where you check your socials, check your emails, your personal messages, because how often have you planned to do something, and maybe this is tying in with productivity to some degree, but you plan to do something, and then you've gone in your social media, you've gone in your emails, you've gone in a message, you've ended up spending longer on that platform or replying to that email or replying to that message. As a result, it's left you chasing your tail on the things you should have been doing as a part of your priorities that day, and you end up feeling pissed off, drained energetically because you haven't done what you said you would do, as a result of being distracted. So have time blocks with your social media, your emails, your personal messages, etc. Limit processed food, high added sugar foods. Of course, this is a massive value of mine, and I've spoke heavily on previous podcasts, so I won't go too deep in this, but as an absolute minimum, limit processed and added sugar foods AM and at lunch. I want to emphasize that again. If you really, 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 really want to live with optimal energy in the PM, which is when half the world goes to shit and their energy levels drop, don't eat processed food and added sugar food at lunch. It will 100% affect your energy afterwards. Massively. So limit that. Stand more often. Stand more often. Experiment with it the next week. If you sit down a lot, whether you're on planes, you sit down a lot at your job, you're in meetings, Zooms, etc., 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 just make a conscious effort to stand more and watch what that does to your energy and your focus, and often your creativity within your conversations. You'll make sharper decisions just from standing more often in between meetings and things like that. Focus on being present. I think you can create a lot of anxiety, needless stress by overthinking the future and dwelling on the past. A lot of the times we can't control things that have happened, and we don't need to worry about things that haven't happened. So focus on being present, and again, you're just going to protect your energy in that given moment. Because remember, there's nothing more important than what we're actually doing in this given moment, okay? But dwelling on the past, and the future is going to affect energy. Laugh and smile. How many times have you felt stressed, uptight? I know I can relate to this, of course. And then someone said something really funny, or you've seen something funny, and you've just started laughing, you started smiling. Straight away, it's going to pick your energy up. Straight away, you're going to pick your energy up. Okay. The next one, I suppose, it sort of ties in with that again, is connect and communicate with people who lift your energy. Now, this ties in a little bit with environment, but if you want to live with more energy, spend time with people who have great energy, because it will rub off on you. If you spend time with people who have negative energy, and maybe are not aligned to your values, or just you're just not on the same wavelength, try and combat that by just spending time with people who have amazing energy. I'm sure if you put pen to paper on, like, who are the people in my life, every single time I speak to them, I'm around them, or I absorb maybe even their content, I just instantly feel good, and it gives me the impetus to pick my own energy up. Gratitude. Okay? When you focus on being grateful, AM, PM, even if it's for a minute, you're going to have more positive energy. You can't focus on gratitude and then be pissed off, stressed, overwhelmed. Because if that was the case, you're not being congruent. You're not actually being grateful. And there's always something we could be grateful for, however small. And just watch how your energy changes when you're actually being present with what am I grateful for right now, or maybe who am I grateful for right now. And as I'll come on to in a second, I spoke previously in this podcast about managing transitions. Managing transitions, look, I've not got this mastered, to be fully transparent, but I do it more often than I didn't do. I first heard about managing transitions from one of my mentors, Brendan Bouchard. He's a world-leading high-performance expert, and he spoke about managing transitions, and I'm thinking, what's all this about? Where you release tension and set intention before every activity, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders, they bounce from task to task to task to task to task. And there might be like 1% of people on this earth that can do that and still optimize energy from when they get up to when they go to bed. But I've not met many when you've had one-to-one conversations with people who genuinely do this, effectively and with genuine happiness. Okay. I think if you're having your pit stops by managing transitions, you're going to bring the right you to that given situation. So, for example, I'm pretty sure if you're anything like me and my clients, when you're in work mode, it's a different type of you that needs to be, bringing to the table, a certain character at that given moment. Say for example with me, when I'm in work mode, my partner will vouch for this. I don't like distractions. When I work, and I don't want people talking to me too much if I'm creating a project, for example. But that's intense. It's focused. I don't want to bring that same Kirk when I'm trying to relax in a different transition of going out for food, maybe catching up with some friends or going out with my partner. That's a different Kirk. I need to be more relaxed and stupid and listening, a better communicator, for example, whatever it may be. But what helps you do this is one tip that Brendan shares, which is release tension, set intention. So after each transition, so maybe after each meeting, or maybe when you've left your children in the morning, spend anywhere from 30 seconds, 60 seconds, up to 3 minutes, whatever you felt you need, where you close your eyes, you nasal breathe in for 4 seconds, you nasal breathe out for 4 seconds, and you just calm your state. And I don't personally do this, but I know Brendan says, say the word release. So it makes you present about genuinely releasing intention before you go into your next activity. And then set an intention before you open your eyes of who you need to bring to the table in the next transition. Okay? And it just gives you that little pit stop. And I remember Brendan explaining it like this. It's like a Formula One driver who goes in for pit stops at the right time so he can extend the stamina and the high performance across the whole race. Because he explained it like this: there's a lot of race cars that maybe literally go off top speed, but they don't have their pit stops early enough, and as a result, the tyres get burnt out, and they can't perform the last half of the race. Whereas the most strategic, and of course the car counts in this particular example, but when the margins for victory are so small, those who are going in for the pit stops at the right moment are going to allow for higher performance towards the end of the race. And ultimately, if you're listening to this podcast as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I'm yet to meet a top entrepreneur that doesn't want to optimize performance at the end of the day as well as the start of the day. And you're not going to do that if you're not having your little pit stops to recharge, even if it's for a minute or two between each transition. Okay? Play around with it. I say I've not mastered this yet, but I do a hell of a lot more, and I suffer with less visual, mental, and physical fatigue when I do these things. Okay, so what I want to just leave you with a little challenge, because I mean I've chucked a hell of a lot at you at this podcast. Is I challenge you from this podcast to a 30-day consistency commitment to do with your exercise / movement, your nutrition, basically your energy in, and your energy recharging. Okay, I challenge you to pick three things in each of those areas that you're going to commit to elevate your energy, because ultimately your energy is going to be a byproduct of your movement / exercise, your nutrition that you take in, and how you actually recharge and recover. So, for example, your 3 exercise movement examples in terms of your energy consistency commitment the next 30 days could be lifting weights 4 days a week, doing a cardio session once a week, and hitting 70k steps. Okay, or even just choose one. What is the one thing that you know that when you do it, you have more energy? And you should have had the answer to that based on the previous questions earlier in the podcast. Then it comes to nutrition, energy in. From the questions I asked you earlier, they should give you the answers of the food you need to eat more of / less of. Choose 1 to 3 things with your nutrition, your energy in for the next 30 days you could commit to. For example, no added sugar at all. Drink 4 litres of water a day. No processed food for 6 days per week. You know, if you want to break it down more simply, think about the 1 to 3 things that you could do a little bit better than what you've done the last 2 months, that you know if you did those 1 to 3 things, you'd be in a better position with your energy. Then just lastly, your energy recharging. I've got some examples here. Sleep 7 hours every single night. Maybe play around with that. Release tension, set intention, breathing exercise I just shared during your work hours, every 50 to 75 minutes that Brendan recommends. Have a little pit stop, glass of water, close your eyes for 60 seconds, 3 minutes if you want to go all in. Nasal breathe 4 seconds in, nasal breathe 4 seconds out. Do that for a couple of minutes. Watch how much more energized you are afterwards. Or even maybe something as simple as have a full day off each week. Have a full day off each week and see what that does to your energy. All I'm trying to say is don't listen to this podcast and do nothing. If you know, and more importantly, you want to live with more energy, you have to create it from what you do with your movement, from what you do with your nutrition, and how you actually recharge, basically your habits, your day-to-day rituals, as I said at the start of this episode. Okay? and just watch how much better you feel, how much better you perform, and how much more you get done. All right, because ultimately we're all trying to do more in our weeks, in our months, and we've got so many different people wanting our attention, especially if you've got a partner, you've got children, you run teams, etc., etc. Okay, but just if nothing else, right? Because I know this was a heavier podcast. What is the one key habit that creates most energy for you, and do it? Right? Commit to it every day and watch how much better you feel. Okay, and then what I want to end with now is an invitation, because I know I chucked a hell of a lot at you just now. One of the things we have for our Built to Last clients is a daily energy diary, right? It's a really simple, clean framework that you can follow in the morning and in the evening that takes literally a matter of minutes. But when people use it, it allows you to focus on what you need to do in a more organized, accountable manner in terms of your energy. If you would like the daily energy diary that we give to our clients who just like that extra accountability with their energy management, then simply shoot me a message on my social media handle, Kirk Miller _, or even LinkedIn, Kirk Miller, whatever your preferred platform, or even drop me an email via my website, kirkmiller.co.uk. And I will happily send that across to you. You know, if you are listening to this and you think, God, there's some absolute gold here, but I just love a little simple framework. I'd love to be able to help you with that, okay? Because energy for me is everything. Energy, you're happy when you've got more energy. You're a better person in your relationships. You lead your team with more conviction. If you're in sales in any form within your business, you sell better when you bring in better energy. Simply put, you can give more, contribute more, and influence more. And if you're a leader, ultimately, that's one of the things we love doing. So thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.